We're live.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm so excited because we're going to actually be starting these WeTalks episodes where we are talking to amazing entrepreneurs in and around Alberta, but we're also going to go beyond the borders. So I really want you to tune in because this show is all about sharing and showing vulnerability, because oftentimes we see all these entrepreneurs reaching super levels of success and, all-time money and fame and fortune and all of these things. But what we're not hearing is the actual struggle that it took to get there. Now, this isn't supposed to be a negative show or episode for you. This is for you to really see what it's like being an entrepreneur. If you're in business for yourself, we want to inspire you. I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest muscle I believe that we all should execute is and grow this muscle is the muscle of resilience. And the only way that we can do that is by listening to other people share their stories, how they got to where they are right now, and what it really took. And so today's topic is all about adversity. I don't know how many of you have never faced adversity before, but chances are you have. And we have an incredible entrepreneur from Calgary. Her name is Jenna. Jenna, are you here with us?
I am. Hello.
Hi, Jenna. Do you want to introduce yourself, kind of what you do, what you do? What's your business?
What do I do? Well, as an entrepreneur, as you know, everything. But joke aside, yes, my name is Jenna Coolin. I'm the owner and founder of a wellness clinic and a professional spa in Calgary, Alberta. It's called the Wellness Body and Spa. I have been a lifelong learner. I've always been involved in wellness, whether it's medical aesthetics or holistic nutrition or personal training. I'm also a clinical master hypnotherapist. So I just decided that if I'm curious about something, I will learn. I don't have to do everything, but sometimes as an entrepreneur you do. But I wanted to be able to give back in ways and understanding of beyond my scope of imagination. And that's typically how it starts for an entrepreneur. So that's who I am here in YYC.
Yes. And what is the name of your spa?
The Wellness Body and Spa. We're on 11th Avenue Southwest, almost downtown, right on the Beltline.
Okay, cool. So what we'll do after this posts onto Facebook is we'll put a link so that you can check out Jenna's spa if you're in Calgary. But today's topic is all about adversity. And adversity is something that many people, whether you're in business or not, face at some point in their life. Would you agree?
Oh, 1000%.
Mm-hmm.
That's called life, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. And oftentimes it's so easy to get stuck in this downward spiral where it's like everything is coming at you full force. And a lot of times, many people, they fall into that slum. And this is actually where stress starts. This stress can then lead into depression. And we all know where depression can head to, which ultimately is suicide. And we don't want that to happen. We're here to help people thrive, help people come alive and really feel on point, on purpose. And so my very first question to you is, when was a turning point in your life where you faced adversity head on? Like when you hear the word adversity, what comes to your mind? Like what moment in time for you? And the second question to that is, how did you overcome that adversity?
Well, there's been multiple challenges in my life. I can't necessarily say that there's been one extreme turning point because everything that I However, I would say that in 2010, I had to make a very big decision. And when I went to India in 2011, I was facing life or death. So I literally, the inner fight came out. And it was just like, this isn't going to happen. And what really got me was the fact that, whoa, I've created all of this in my life. I've accepted and allowed all of this into my life. So that means I can also change it. So yes, it was daunting. Don't get me wrong. It was excessively daunting and extremely daunting, but it also was empowering, because I was like, if I could do that, and that isn't what I want, then that means that I can do what I want and get what I want. So when I really started sitting on that, and not even in true actual meditation as our society knows, but just allowing that to percolate, that is when the turning point came. So there's multiple ways that it happened, but it was one time where I went, whoa, wait a minute, remember? I did all that, so I can do all this too. That was it.
Now, just to back up a little bit, you shared that you were facing life or death.
Yes. Yeah.
Would you care to share a little bit more about that?
Absolutely. There's been a few times in my life where it's been pretty dicey. Absolutely. And I'm writing a book about that because of the challenges that come along with it. The biggest thing that happened to me was I was traveling India on my own, and that wasn't necessarily the smartest thing to do. But and other people fell by the wayside. That's okay. I wanted to see my mother's birthplace. It was really important for me to see that so I could connect with her on a different ethereal level. And being a single white girl in India is not smart. And there were 3 times actually that I almost lost my life. The worst time was literally when I got dropped off in the middle of the night off of a bus. I was the only female that got off of that bus. It was 3:00 in the morning, the pitch black. The bus station isn't a bus station. It's a parking lot practically. And I got literally dropped off where there was probably at least 500 men. And a white girl sells for a lot of money. So I literally was being pulled and tagged and pulled and tagged and pulled and tagged. I'm not saying that they're savages, because they're not. I mean, there's so many beautiful people there, but there's a lot of poverty. There's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of mental illness there. And unfortunately, you know what? I don't know how it happened, but I had my diving flashlight in my backpack, and it was in my hand, and I knocked someone in the head and I ran. And believe it or not, there was someone that came. There's a young boy that came, and I kept shooing him away because, I mean, come on. I mean, I didn't have money to give him. I didn't have food to give him. I didn't know what to do. He was actually trying to save my life. And lo and behold, he and his uncle did, because they came along with a motorized rickshaw and pulled me in. I thought, I'm done. I literally thought, I'm done. Smart, had my passport and my sports bra, you know, the diving flashlights on the ground in the parking lot. And you know what? They saved my life. They literally saved my life. So, wow. Yeah, it was, I didn't realize how, and truly, this wasn't a half-hour thing. We're talking, this probably happened in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, it literally was a flash of life before my eyes. And when I finally got into the safety of the hotel, which I had already reserved, but they made so sure that I was safe. It was so wonderful. They were literally my angels on earth at that time. It really made me think. Really made me think, what direction am I going here?
Yeah, I thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I can totally relate. I mean, 2 of my passions in life are people and travel. So I find myself in all different parts of the world, and I can relate to the story you just shared, because there was one time in Mexico where I was out by myself, probably past the daylight hours. I mean, it wasn't the best decision, and I was robbed. It was 2 Mexicans had me held by each wrist. And I saw everything flash before me, and it was in that moment, you don't think of what could happen. You just take action.
Fight or flight.
And it is. And it becomes a non-negotiable. And I think that's really relatable to life, because what happens is we stay stuck in this mentality, whether it's fear or love. And if we're in that fear-based mentality, we are analyzing every single decision. We're analyzing every single move instead of just taking action and going forward. And if it fails, that's okay. Now, the other thing that you said is that you realized you caused everything to get you where you are today.
1000% accountability. Yep.
It is. And that's the beautiful thing. Even when we're facing these challenges and these moments of complete adversity, like head on, we've caused this. It's not happening.
As adults. Absolutely. Especially as adults. We've been given the gift of free will.
Yeah.
I mean, that means a lot. We can do a lot with that. And yet we don't. Because of the fear factor, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and it reminds me of this audiobook that I'm just reading, and it's called Happy Pocket Full of Money. If you've never heard of it, go onto YouTube and listen to it. It's about a 7-hour audio, but it's Happy Pocket Full of Money. And the biggest takeaway I am getting from this book is cause and effect. Everything in life is an effect from the cause. So no matter where you are in your business, in your life, in your relationships, in your love, you caused that to happen. So what do you need to get out of your way to cause the effect that you really want to occur in your life? And this brings me to the next question. As an entrepreneur, how long have you been an entrepreneur for?
27 years.
Oh, so you have tons of experience. Okay. So what would you say in your 27 years of experience is some of the biggest challenges you've faced as an entrepreneur?
Oh my goodness. I would say some of the biggest ones is staying on top of your game without feeling that you can't do anymore. It's exhausting. I don't know what anybody else can say that works a 9-to-5 job, or they're a mom or a dad with kids, or like life is exhausting. That's just the way it is. There's no difference when you are an entrepreneur. So I think keeping the mindset clean and clear and decisive action is probably one of the hardest things to do. And the reason for that, I truly believe, is not because I can't do it or you can't do it or anybody out there listening can't do it. It's sometimes because you're listening to other people instead of trusting your own intuition, own guidance system. That never fails you, no matter what, whether it's building a business, raising your child, or driving down a back alley.
Or in a dangerous situation.
Yes. Absolutely. So your inner guidance system, that tapping in and just having that sense of, you know what, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And I always say this to people that work for me, even my counseling clients, are like, you know what, I don't care if the whole entire world is telling you that that isn't what you should do. If you really, really, truly feel that it serves the higher good for all, then don't listen to anybody else. That is your innate knowledge. And when you follow it and you listen to it, it's amazing what happens. So following my guidance, following my intuition is so super important. I try not to listen to what everybody else does because that's their journey. That may not be nice for me, but I love listening to them at the same time because I can learn, but I don't have to do what they do.
Yeah. I completely hear that. That's something that we're implementing into the WeTalks global training platform, is just that. It's our mindset. Our mind, if it's not in a good place, it prevents us from, well, our mind is our ego. And if we're listening to our ego the entire time, we're not necessarily going to make the decisions that will actually help us grow and flourish and thrive. It's keeping us safe and replaying those old stories over and over and over.
Yeah. And ego is fear-based.
Yeah.
1000% ego is fear-based. And you know what? Yes, there's checks and balances. I cannot discredit that. But at the same time, you have to really look at why you may be sensing that, or why you might be fearful of that, and really dig deep. You know, having that self-conversation, that self-talk is so important. Even as an entrepreneur, I always have to tap in. Just go, why isn't this feeling right? Why isn't this working out the way I want it to work out? What's going on? And sometimes when it's a serious problem, you don't look at it as a problem. You look at it as, okay, there could be multiple solutions here. So what options do I have? And if you think you have no options, You might not have any options at that moment, but you sure as heck can start asking questions and create some options around it.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And so that being one of the challenges is trusting your own inner guiding system. What other challenges have you faced over your 27 years, like as an entrepreneur?
People believing in you.
Mm.
That is a big one, because lots and lots of times there'll be friends that'll say, and I've had this happen to me before, oh, I don't think you should do that. That's too risky. You know, oh, I don't think you should do that. That you just never know what's going to happen. Oh, where is your security in that? You know, and to be quite truthful, if I listened to that, I would be nowhere near where I am today. And yeah, you know, business has been excessively successful for me, and an excessive struggle too. There's been that I call it the seesaw, right? That's what it is. But holy smokes, if I didn't do what I really felt I needed to do, I wouldn't have been living my truth as an entrepreneur or as a person.
Yes. And I believe that many of you who are watching this right now, or who will watch this once the replay is on, is that you have, including myself, many people around you doubting you, saying that you should go back and get a real job and get your head in check and stop, you know, being in the clouds and dreaming so big. And I believe that this is one of the biggest problems that people face in society, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. We stop dreaming at a very young age because someone that we decided was of high influence in our life told us that it's too big. It's too big of a dream.
So true.
And it's time. It's you and I and Jenna, we have to step into our power. We have to trust our own intuition and teach others how to do the same thing, because I believe that less people would fall into this state of stress, anxiety, suicide, and depression if they truly felt connected to themselves, to their dreams, to their aspirations, and most importantly, to their human potential in life.
Absolutely.
Once we fall into that mindset that we're not good enough, like, who am I to think of this dream, and all of these other negative self-limiting beliefs, we start playing this small game, and we're not following our heart, and we're just living day by day as a bloody robot.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So next question I have for you is, what is your superpower?
Big time, my intuition. That is everything. My intuition is everything. And I'm fortunate that that's something that I have lived my life, especially over the last 15 years with, but even more so over the last 10. But my intuition is very, very, very strong. And that means, especially as well, when I have that sense, whatever it may be for whomever it is out there, when I have that sense that I need to do something, sometimes I think I'm a crazy person, but I'll do it anyways because I don't know why, but there is always a reason. It may have absolutely nothing to do with what my task at hand is, but I'm telling you right now, I will necessarily need either that contact or that person's information or their advice maybe, because there's always good people out there that share their advice willingly. That is big for me. That is the absolute biggest thing for me.
Wow. That's an incredible superpower to have.
Huge.
So next question I have is, why do you think that mental health is important while being an entrepreneur?
Well, mental health, period, as we both agree upon, is so important. And it's probably the biggest thing that's forgotten in today's society, unfortunately. For an entrepreneur, it is excessively important because we are juggling so many balls.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of businesses, even if they've been in business 5 or 7 years, they don't have the money for a full-time bookkeeper or a full-time accountant or a full-time marketing manager. They don't have the money for that yet. And that's okay. Yet at the same time, if you don't have your mindset, or at least, and it's not even, I really want to clarify when I say mindset, it's not always that you have to be so driven that you're on Mach 1 all the time, because that is also not healthy. But what I mean is, when you allow yourself to have checks and balances, you allow yourself to have those days when you're like, whoa, my fumes are even burnt out. I've got nothing left. And allow yourself that recharge and reset time. I am relearning that myself again, because I am so go, 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 go that I will burn myself out. And we cannot do that as entrepreneurs. It is so important to take that downtime. It is so important to allow yourself that breathing space. And the biggest thing is to not get down on yourself. That is the biggest thing, because when you're looking around, social media is big for this. I just had this conversation with someone else the other day. They're like, oh man, how come their life is so easy? How come they're doing that? How come they're traveling here? How come they can afford that? How come they bought the... Whoa, stop, take a deep breath. It's not about their life, it's about yours.
Yeah.
And really getting back into center balance of going, all right, if this particular situation isn't how I want it to be, how can I adjust this? How can I make it a little bit better for me, more comfortable? So it's all about the mind health.
It is. And I think it is a topic that is growing at a very accelerated pace, because if we look at universities and colleges and schools, for example, they are setting aside up to $22 million to deal with mental health. Now, this is just one type of demographic, which is students, going to school for a degree. This is not talking about our social system that people are using to acquire services, to get into the hospital, to have treatments done on their mind. And something that WeTalks is very passionate about is raising awareness to help prevent the burnout, the stress, and ultimately these suicidal ideations, because nobody is thinking about it. You're thinking about running a business and what you got to do next, to get those books in order and who you need to hire to get this job done, but you're forgetting about yourself. And if you are not in good physical, emotional, and mental well-being, you are going to crash at some point in time. And this is kind of what we dub as startup suicide. Think about this. You did touch on this a little bit when it comes to financials. Many business owners get into a lot of financial debt, and that's just how it is being an entrepreneur. A lot of entrepreneurs are, just like you said, doing this job and that job and wearing all of these hats, and it's hard to keep your body in that optimal peak performance if you're not grounded in the space that you need to be. And so this is what's really exciting about WeTalks, because we've been researching and having conversations with police officers, with teachers, with principals, with school education boards, entrepreneurs, and youth. And what we're finding is that by the time people actually reach out and ask for help, the damage has already been done. And it's too late. And so WeTalks' goal is to stop the stigma. It's to end this social isolation and to really help people like you and myself and Jenna feel that it's okay, and not associate this shame with these feelings of like, oh my God, I'm a failure. Like my business is not where I want it to be. And I feel like everything is crumbling. Guess what? It's okay. We all experience these feelings. So
yes, it is so true. This is one of the reasons I have the wellness clinic, because we have a mind health portion of it specifically for this. And the beautiful thing is we offer alternative options to psychotherapy or medication that actually works. We did a case study on PTSD with fire, police, HR within those departments, paramedics, and it was unbelievable what literally shifted them in a matter of 3 months. There is hope out there, and that's what I love about what you're doing, is that you are reminding people there's hope out there, and that is so important. That is so important.
Yes, and speaking to what you just shared, like I said earlier, we're going to post the link for you to get in touch with Jenna if you want to experience her spa, if you want to experience the Mind Health Clinic. But Jenna, you also have a space that people can host events there, don't you?
Yes, I do. And I also have one of the partners that we have is the Delta Hotel. And if our space is not large enough, then we certainly can get larger space. So we have multiple options. If people are wanting to host their own workshop or they're wanting to do a day program or a weekend program, not a problem. We can certainly help you out.
Awesome. Now, the last question before we come to a close is, what is the best piece of advice that you've ever received? Like that, just that voice in your head that, you know, there's a quote or someone shared something with you. What is that best piece of advice?
I really think back to, believe it or not, my dad. And he said to me one day, he said, no matter what, just don't give up. It may not look like what you thought it was going to look like in the end, but that's okay. Because if you give up, you never know how it's going to turn out. So enjoy the process, work hard with the process, respect the process, because when you respect the process, you're respecting yourself, and just don't give up. And he mentioned that because he was like, don't fall in love with the end game, because the end game may not be exactly what you think it's going to be. It probably is going to be better.
I love it. That's something that I've had to reteach myself, is not be tied to the outcome.
Me too. Yep.
Yeah.
Attachments are dangerous. You know, end result attachments are dangerous. You know, it's just like you said earlier, just go with it, work through it, work with it, get the advice you need, mold it, make it malleable, and holy smokes, imagine what you can do.
Yes. So in this whole idea of facing adversity, I think one thing rings really true, and the word faith is coming to me.
Absolutely.
Because in the story that you shared about facing adversity head on, and the story that I briefly shared, I think in those moments of adversity, it's just having faith, and it's trusting. It's
trusting yourself. Yes, trusting yourself is everything. And we forget that we can.
Yeah.
We're not going to let ourselves down. We think we can let ourselves down. That's where we get.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's been awesome having you here.
This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. We are going to post the link for you to get in touch with Jenna below. And I want to leave you with this idea or thought. WeTalks is in the middle and the early stages of creating a global training platform that is going to reach hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. And if you feel like you want to be part of this movement to stop the stigma, to end social isolation, to help get these programs into high school leadership classes, message me directly, because there's an opportunity for you to jump on board in this movement. It takes a community, it takes a tribe to birth an idea, to birth a business, as I'm sure you can relate, Jenna.
Definitely. Absolutely can.
Awesome. All right. So thank you for tuning in. Episode 1 on adversity with Jenna Coolin from Calgary, the Wellness Spa. Stay tuned for episode 2 coming right around the corner.